You can put an idea out there and it tanks. You can't take that personally. You've got to say, all right, well, that didn't work. What could I change? How could I do something differently? And we'll try again.
Hey everybody, I am Ben Weiss from Flippa. I'm here with our Humans of Flippa series, and today I'm talking to Liz and Matt Rad down in Australia. They are, I'm sure they hear it all the time, but the raddest people that I know.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Ben.
Of course. So for those who don't know, Liz and Matt are kind of legends, rock stars around the Flippa universe. They've been using our site for ages, but they also actually teach about online investing and digital entrepreneurship to a whole new group of people. So there's a wealth of information from you guys. So I'm really excited to chat with you. We've already been talking behind the scenes. This might have to be a multi-part series because there's just so much to talk about. But I'm curious, and I feel like you've told me once before, but if I can just get what's your background originally? Like, I know you didn't grow up as digital entrepreneurs. So what were you doing before the world of online?
We actually both grew up on farms, and we met at uni studying zoology. So we were once upon a time destined to be zoologists. In particular, we studied red kangaroos here in Australia. But we loved that outdoor lifestyle and everything. And luckily, we got into business because zoology wasn't going to pay the bills type thing. And it tied you to a lab and to a university, which we didn't want. So we got into business and we were buying so our original background really is in this entrepreneurial space is buying and selling bricks and mortar businesses, in particular manufacturing businesses.
So, and then we went through into, so that's, I guess that's in our core is buying and renovating. That's something that always drove us. We always wanted to buy a business that we could do something with, that there was opportunity to grow it as quickly as possible and then be able to sell it or be able to automate it and keep it for cash flow. So when we were professionally business brokering there for a while, so and working with mergers and acquisitions in Australia, in Sydney, and that was amazing because we got a great network of very high net worth individuals, private equity, VC, and it was interesting watching how they did deals. And so we learned.
We should mention deals in the sort of 10 to 20 mil range. That's what we're...
So a little different than what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But the concepts are the same. So when we decided, when family came along and we thought, no, we've had enough of that. We're going into another phase of our life. And the internet was coming at that time. And we just saw that coming and thought, oh, here's an opportunity to put to work all that strategy and the skills and the things that we'd been doing, but in a way more leveraged environment and one that was just going to grow phenomenally. So that's how we ended up where we are.
Yeah, and the thing that we loved the most back then, because our background is buying and selling bricks and mortar business, even when we were working with private equity and doing the big deals, it was always with sort of import wholesale businesses or manufacturing businesses. Mm-hmm. And the common theme amongst them is, anyone that's been in that game knows what I'm about to say, is they have physical inventory or stock. And that was a big dislike of ours. It was like, we were young entrepreneurs, it was like an anchor around our neck, having all our money tied up in some warehouse somewhere. And I think to this day, huge debt into the banks and stuff. And so you can be very successful with it. And we obviously worked with a lot of people hugely successful. But when we saw the internet, we realized, hang on a minute, we don't have to have all this stock ourselves. We just be affiliates for this stuff, for other people that do that. So for us, it was like that light bulb moment. It was just like a gift to us. And I think to this day, we're very open about it. That's one of the key reasons the one thing we don't do ourselves or don't teach online is the e-commerce model or Amazon FBA. It's not our thing. Not to say you can't make lots of money out of it. There's heaps of money in it. We've got friends that have very significant 7-figure businesses or 8-figure businesses in that space. But for us personally, we've gone more into information marketing or AdSense or affiliate style websites. That's our kind of sweet spot.
Yeah.
So that's traditionally why that's the background reason why we don't want to touch any internet businesses with physical stock though.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, that's kind of, I mean, I feel like that's how the internet boom started in the first place, because you saw this
Yeah,
world where you can really, it takes time instead of money for the most part. You know,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, and
that's why technology just took off, because people were like, oh, well,
yep.
if I want to grow this, all I got to do is work 100 hours a week. I don't have to put in
yeah,
$100,000 a
oh
week.
no, we want to leverage that too.
Well,
Work too hard, Ben. No.
well, if you want to be Jeff Bezos, you probably had to put in 100 hours.
Yeah.
yes, that's true. Yeah.
But that's a different kind of money we're talking about.
Yeah.
So have you guys always worked together? It's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. We've
Yep.
been together 24/7 for
24/7,
20, how many years? 25 years?
25 years. Yeah. And yeah, we've always brought the businesses together. And so Liz is a legend at business, you know, analyzing businesses just like myself and looking for the opportunities. So it's brilliant. And we've also always worked from home, or tried to. So even when we're doing the bricks and mortar stuff, we tended to set up businesses where they could be leveraged. That's why manufacturing. So we didn't own all the equipment. We would outsource all that. So I guess that's always been in our DNA. But also growing up on farms, I think that was a big thing for us. We, you know, being able to work from home. I was lucky. It's funny. You kind of follow your parents' footsteps in a weird kind of way. But I always had my dad at home. I was used to that. So at lunch, he would come back into the house to have lunch. And I guess now that's what I do. And we've always done that with our kids, except we're on the computers.
Yeah.
So, but we literally work next to each other. Liz, my desk is just there. And so we can sit and chat to each other all day.
That's pretty phenomenal. You can make that work. I like it.
That's easy for us.
One of those, well, yeah, we're one of those annoying couples that work it out.
Yeah.
That's not to say you don't have arguments and you don't have, like, you know, you go, I want to do this and I want to do that, but we work it out. We always have a common goal in the
Absolutely.
end. As long as you're heading in the same direction and you agree on the big stuff and where you want to head, then you can work out the little stuff.
For sure. So take me back. I'm so curious now that I've like forced you into this recorded conversation here. What were those early days like? And I'm honestly almost more curious if you have a failure story from the beginning of time.
Oh yeah. Well, it was yeehaw land. Oh my God. It was wild, wild west. And we were talking when we first kind of started hearing about this and seeing that the internet was something that, okay, here's a new way of doing things. Oh, that would have been early 2000s, I guess. And we started looking into a few things, but back then you had to learn HTML, you had to learn Dreamweaver and all that stuff. And that was the biggest thing that kind of, we put it off for a while, actually. I was learning all that stuff, but it was hard. And it was, especially not coming from a technical background.
Right.
And so that's probably one of our regrets, is that we didn't. It would have been great if we'd really just pushed through and overcome those fears. I think that's why I love working with beginners now, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be a bit overwhelmed. It's a whole new language. It's a whole new world, and it can feel overwhelming, but there's such an opportunity there. And when we did build it, we did our first website, and it was information product back then. And I worked so hard on this website. I got it all up and running and everything, and, you know, went live and all that. And there was no sales, nothing. And I'm just going, and that's hard. And I see people do that a lot. Like it is at that first time round, and it doesn't necessarily happen straight away, and it isn't like instant cash flow. And you go, darn, okay, what now? And I had a very wise person. I remember being on the phone to them. I said, don't stop. Like, that's just your first iteration. Like, when you get it out there, that's not it. That's just the start. Now you've got to start testing. Now you've got to start getting some. So we did paid traffic back then. So, you know, I was testing different things, like getting that. I think that's one thing with scientific training. That's because we're trained as scientists. You're trained to put stuff out there and actually expect that it won't work. You've got to kind of prove things. In science, you've got to prove it doesn't. You've got to do the both. Okay, does it work or doesn't it work? And I think that helped, because, you know, you can put an idea out there and it tanks. you can't take that personally. You've got to say, all right, well, that didn't work. What could I change? How could I do something differently? And we'll try again, and we'll try again. And I remember my first sale. Go Rose. I love you, Rose.
She bought your first ebook. Yes. I still remember the first check from ClickBank.
Yeah, and then about a couple of months later, we got that first check from ClickBank. It was ClickBank product, and it was $1,000. And I was like, oh yes,
you've made it.
So it is, and I think when you get into this world, especially if you've not been in it before, and even actually if you have, we work with some quite experienced people. And even them, sometimes you got to remind yourself that you've got to test stuff. You've got to get it out there. You've got to have a go, and then see. You never give up. And even with sites that we've bought sites where we've thought, oh man, this is going to be awesome. We throw everything at it, and it just doesn't, doesn't do what you thought it would do.
That's bizarre.
And you go, okay, well, the thing is, what we do is we come in with a very much business and investment strategy. So we accept that some of the deals aren't necessarily going to go absolutely where we would like them to.
Right.
So that's why we buy a range of deals. We don't put all the eggs in one basket. We have a whole range of websites, range of niches, range of monetizations. And sometimes, when that one doesn't work, then at least, because I've always budgeted, okay, as long as I can pay myself back that investment, I'm good. And it's always better than money in the bank. That, like I've often said to students, like if the deal doesn't go the way you want, it's still better than money in the bank, because it's still an asset. And so you just decide, okay, well, will I keep that and just gradually let it pay itself off to me? And from there, once it's paid itself back to me, it's a free and clear asset that I get paid from, even if it isn't as much as I really expected it to be. Or if the other thing too is we've had sites where we've thrown everything at it and we can't get it to work, but we've sold it and the next person's got the list or the connections or something else that they go, yep, boom, and they take it and go. So it can be different assets for different people as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're teaching now. What led you to that? And how long have you been teaching students? When did you decide you were good enough to be teaching other people?
Good question. Yeah, there's always that feeling, am I good enough to teach this?
I think you are. We
actually started out, we had some mentors say to us, look, there's a need in the marketplace. We actually, when we very first started teaching people, it was actually about buying and selling businesses, not online assets, but offline businesses. And we had a lot of experience, or we have a lot of experience in that. We had a lot of connections. And so we could help people set up their businesses for sale and get really high sale prices for their businesses. So we had we were starting to help people in that way. But then it gradually morphed. Because
what happened is people started hearing
what we're doing.
And we would talk openly about it, say, oh, what we're really doing, we don't buy and sell bricks and mortar businesses anymore. We started telling people that said, no, we buy internet businesses. And back then people were like, what are internet businesses? Like, what do you mean you buy an internet business? How does that work? And it's not like it is now at all. And people kept asking us about it. And so then we started talking more and more and teaching people and showing them what we do. And we're saying, look, okay, it can be very lucrative to buy and sell bricks and mortar, but this is way better. You don't need any money. Or you don't need as much money. You don't have to tie up money in stock and things. And it's actually easier to do due diligence when you know what you're doing. This is kind of a no-brainer. And it's also a growth thing for the future. And so that's how it morphed into us just now wholly and solely teaching people what we do and what we've done over the last 10 years, which is buy and sell websites. And
we get a really good buzz too out of taking a beginner, an absolute beginner, through to six-figure incomes. That's really fulfilling. I think it's something that, because a lot of the time it's those people who are really motivated to do something and to change something, and I love watching that evolution and that process. And certainly, we help a lot of people who are more advanced and want to just make that switch, but our real passion is
beginners.
Taking those beginners through, because they get such cool wins.
So what would be like the first thing you say to those people when they sign up and come to your class for the first time, or you talk to them on the phone, whoever it is, and they're like, hey, I know nothing about this, but I've heard you can buy and sell websites. Tell me more. Should I do it?
Yeah,
that's a good.
It's a really good question, and I know exactly after 10 years the answer to that is, and we've just done a heap of calls this week actually with some new clients, and even with some of the more advanced people. What we say is, you need, but particularly to beginners, the number one thing you can do is learn how a website works and how you put together a website. And okay, down the track, you can outsource all that really easily. You can go on Upwork and find heaps of people that can build websites for you. But unless you know the basics, and like Liz said, that was the number one thing that put us off all those years ago. That's the whole reason we didn't go online earlier than what we did, because we didn't know how to build a website. The cool things, and so we didn't feel empowered.
Well, we didn't understand those leverage points about, okay, what levers do we need to pull in a website to make it better?
Whereas these days you can have a crack at building your own website on WordPress, which we highly recommend, and you can learn how it works and basically learn how to set up. So what we do, the very first thing we do, Ben, with our guys is say, okay, we know you want to buy and sell websites, you want to jump on Flippa and get going. That's all cool, but we've got two rules. One is learn how to put it together a website, and we do we do a little short course for that, so that gets them up to speed. And then at the same time, the other rule is when you get onto Flippa, if you're a total beginner, buy a website under $500, even if it's a starter site, because you're just going to learn so much. Treat it as a learning experience. So what we're all about at the beginning and we know this is what works, is getting the foundations down first. We prefer that people don't just jump. You don't want to hear this, but we don't want people just jumping straight onto Flippa and buying even a $5,000 website or a $10,000 website. We've seen the success that we've had with our beginner students, where they learn how to build a good little website themselves, just like you said at the beginning, just in their own time. It's not money, it doesn't cost them anything to build that, but then also have a little go on Flippa with say a $500 website or. And some of the
that's the thing. Like we obviously love the Flippa platform because it allows people to dip their toe in the market, because there are small assets available, and I think that's awesome, because we've got students like Jasmine who bought a website for $320. And she renovated it. It was a really nice little website, and it was making her $200 to $300 a month for ages. She's had that for a few years now. It's
a Amazon affiliate site for trampolines, and she just sold it recently on Flippa for, I think, is it $6,000? You can probably look it up, but it's.
I recall seeing that one come through. It caught my eye because it was trampolines.
Yeah. And so simple websites. I mean, where else can you do that? Like, go in, get an asset, and have it pay you, like buy it for $300 and then have it pay you $200 to $300 a month, and then sell it like for $6,000. I think that's a really good learning process.
And actually, that's a good story. That was Jasmine's stepping stone to learning. She's not from this industry, but that was her stepping stone to now working in this industry full time.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I love. I love that concept of almost, and I never thought about it, of like almost looking at on these smaller sites, like it's almost like paying for education. Like, that's it. I mean, $500, that's on it. Like, sadly, in the United States, it's what you spend on books for 1/4 of college. And you don't get paid back for those.
Well, it's interesting. Jasmine was at uni, and she's now working in digital marketing though full time, and literally that was her stepping stone, buying a $300 website off Flippa.
Right. So you can spend $200,000 on a university education.
And I think that's actually a really good, interesting point. I think in this marketplace, pretty much all of us are self-taught. Like us who've been in there for 10 years or more, we had to learn ourselves. There were no courses really. There was bits and pieces, but there was no formal education. And so I actually find that quite exciting that it's up to you. Like you get in there, and that's another reason I guess we got into education, because I think I love that, being able to help people bypass all the stuff we had to learn on the way, and the
mistakes that we made, and also the cool things that we've learned, like how you set up a site that converts really well.
Yeah, so I think, but that's the great thing. I think having a place where people can get started, and then ratchet up, like go up. And so we've got students now, like once they do that $500, that's the other thing too. It's overcoming. A lot of people have a lot of fear about that first site. Like they're not sure what's going to happen and transferring the website and all that sort of stuff. So that's why we also get them to do it, so that they go through that process and really learn, oh, okay, this is what happens. And now I feel more comfortable. Now I can buy an asset of 10 or 50 or 100K and I know what's going to happen. It's basically the same process.
Yeah.
So
it's like anything else. You know, like with any business, you want to start small and work your way up and get better and better at it. You know, it's funny. I had it written down to ask you guys, but I can just tell on the smiles on your faces. Like, you must be so excited every time one of your students is successful.
Oh. and that's what we were just talking about before the interview, weren't we? Like some of the recent stories we've got, and obviously you guys know one of a really big success story for one of our beginners who now do this full time is Nathan and Alexa. With it's on our blog, or it's on your blog, with Curd Nerd, where I wrote you know, they bought it for $900 again, a learner site, $950, a learner site, and they trained with us, and now they're doing amazing things. These guys have bought some awesome sites off Flippa now, and they've gone way beyond. But that was their stepping stone, and you know, they quit their jobs within, I think, the first year or so of buying Curd Nerd. But again, like with Jasmine, that was a stepping stone, and of course they sold that just for, what was it, last year, 6 months ago or something?
About 6 months ago for around $20,000.
Pretty much $17,000, and you know, that's a pretty awesome, that's an outstanding outcome. But also those guys have bought some really cool, much bigger sites now. So they're a young couple, and they're doing they're actually in Europe now doing the laptop lifestyle thing. And, you know, what they're doing is they're starting out small and they're leapfrogging, building up. Like they buy one, renovate it, sell it a couple of years down the track, and then roll that money into bigger deals.
And they're looking at taking on investors now too. So that's the other path. Like, even if you don't have the money yourself, when you've got the skills to be able to do this, it's a pretty rare skill set, as you probably know. Like it's
and it does get harder as the value of the business gets bigger. I think it's harder to grow something from 200,000 to 500,000. It is from 2,000 to 5,000.
Yeah. And so getting the sort of lifting up and getting those higher skills and then getting into some bigger deals. There's heaps of different ways you can do that as well. You don't have to necessarily have the money yourself.
We've also just got some really, because of COVID, I think our students, this is where we've really seen some massive success stories, because obviously COVID's, you know, over the last 6 months has brought kind of the future, you know, the next 5 years into this kind of 5-month period for us all. Any of us are online anyway. And we've got total beginner students now who are doing this full time, being able to quit their jobs, or they were forced to quit their jobs, because we've got a lot of, we retrain people in the workforce. So we've got a lot of 40 or 50 plus people, or, you know, in that age bracket, and who are fairly high income earners, but they no longer have jobs, or they don't have, or their employment's changed. And so we've got a number of them now who you know, doing this full time. Pretty cool results. Like Mark, who he's been buying up smaller sites in that sort of $6,000 range, $6,000 to
$20,000.
Oh, he bought a
$18,000 one. But the cool thing is too, like, as I'm sure you've seen, asset values in this marketplace have grown phenomenally over the last 6 months or so. Although
very quickly gone online.
Yeah, there's still awesome buys out there. So our students are still finding them and getting really good buys. Mark's invested about 50,000, I think, on sites now, and renovated them. And based on the turnover that they now do, we're valuing that portfolio at about 400,000 or 500,000 now. So isn't that awesome?
That's without even the Christmas lift that's coming up. We'll give you an update.
We'll give you an update in January.
But it's phenomenal. And Mark was like, he's a scientist. He's at a university, and he's just decided not to go back to work because he's making more money now off those small websites that he bought. So
good for him. Good for him. All right, I can chat with you guys all day. I think we will have to just do this again. I want to ask one question, because I've been asking it to everybody, and I'm going to ask it to you as a couple, because you've clearly you are one in my eyes. and I'm curious what your answer is. Maybe it's just my, every day I'm living the answer, but I've been asking around, what does your perfect day look like?
Ah, cool.
Nice one. For me, perfect day is we're lucky enough to live in Queensland, Australia. So for me, it starts out with a beautiful, clear morning where it's warm. We get up pretty early, like 5 a.m., and we go out for a mountain bike ride. And
thrash some hills together.
Yeah, with our local mountain bike club, and because we live on the back of the bush here, and we've got really awesome mountain bike trails. And then we come back and
we hang in the morning with kids. So we hang out with the kids. It's all pretty relaxed. No one has to rush off anywhere except the kids have to go to school. So they get ready for school and we drop them off, and then we get into, we always love to talk to each other. We say, okay, what's up for today? And what are we call it our MRAs, our maximum return activities. What are the things that we really want to get done today that's going to get us to where we want to go?
Yep.
And then, so we will talk. And our ideal day, I love talking to our team and, checking in, seeing where everything's at. I'm a marketer at heart. I love those, getting creative and doing that kind of thing. So getting into a reno or getting into a plan about, okay, what are we doing? And let's action that. And then Matt, you do a bit of share.
I do a bit of share trading or research on websites that I might be interested in buying, or where I'm going to, or helping a client maybe buy a website. So I do lots and lots of due diligence, which I really enjoy. And I really enjoy, I'm an SEO nerd. So I just love, if I, even though we've got team, I rather just, the honest truth is a perfect day for Matt is just to sit there and not tell Liz that I'm actually SEOing some little tiny micro site we own or whatever. I still get a buzz out of that now.
We'll just get you a job on Upwork.
Yeah. So I just love, and sorting out what's the keyword research here and what contents can I put on here. I really enjoy it. It's very creative, and I love building websites, even though I know it's not a good use of my time because it's really easy to outsource that. But honestly, I still to this day love building websites and renovating them and SEOing them. And I guess in a way, I get to do that through my clients now at whatever level I want. Some of them have small sites, some of them have really big sites. So I guess that's a buzz, but I still love doing it myself on, I don't care what size website it is.
And then 3 p.m, kids are home.
Yeah.
So back.
That's how.
Is that a good part of the day or a bad part of the day?
It's actually good because
I go and do ninja training.
Yeah, so I love training.
Training with the kids.
You know that Ninja Warrior show?
Yes.
So our kids compete in that, and but Dad trains with them too to keep it real, so they can see Dad fail in front of everyone. Because I'm not as strong as them at that sort of stuff. So yeah, and it's pretty cool. That's our fun. But
then there's other days. That's the thing. Like there's other days where we just goof off. We'll go, okay, let's go out for breakfast and talk about the world and where we're heading and just do our thing. So I think that's the wonderful thing about being online and being in this world is that it is ultimately flexible. And if we don't look at our websites for a day, it's not the end of the world. And if we don't look at our websites for 2 weeks, it's not the end of the world actually. So we can go on holiday and absolutely just go on holiday. And I think that's something that is important to us as well, being able to switch off.
Well, that's basically our ideal working day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the moral of the story is you guys are pretty much living the life you want to live.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That we're one thing I will say about both of us. We're very, we're obviously very enthusiastic about everything and really super positive and optimistic, but we are very driven. We always have been since being a kid, because I came from a family, like an environment where we had hardly any money and stuff. That's always driven me. And then when I met Liz, I think both of us were very goal orientated, and we've always set strong goals. And one of the big things that we've done is set really strong goals and intentions, even from back when we met in our 20s, about how we wanted our life to be. And I think that was influenced by the two of us growing up in very similar upbringings in a rural area on farms, and we want that ability to work from home and be outside. And like when we look at our office here, we're surrounded by a beautiful bush, or we call it forest, I guess, in America. But that's been a really strong driver for us too. We always share our goals with each other, and we're very, it sounds kind of full on, but you can have a lot of fun. But
that's what gets you through.
Goal orientated.
That's what gets you through when you do have tough times. Like every one of us in every journey, you have times where it doesn't work how you want it to be working. And so that's what gets you through when you realize, because sometimes you will get off path and you'll think that, this bright, shiny opportunity or whatever is there. And then you realize, actually, no, that's not taking me where I want to go. And you got to get yourself back on path. So I think that's the biggest thing, is having that end goal, understanding what you want and where you want to get there and how it's going to look and feel. And saying every day, okay, well, is what I'm doing today getting me towards that? And is it fun?
I can't think of better words to end on. So thank you guys. We will obviously have to catch back up with you maybe after the holiday season. We can get some more recent understandings of what's going on in the world of e-commerce. Well, not e-commerce, but affiliate sales.
affiliate site.
Not e-commerce. Definitely not e-commerce.
I'd highly recommend that. I think I know what's coming with our clients because we're working with some of the sites that we're seeing. Wait till you hear some of the success stories come January. I think it's going to be really interesting for your audience to hear some of these sites that were bought on Flippa, what they've done over the last 6 months even is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll maybe
we'll catch up on that.
All right, we'll catch up then. Well, thank you so much then.
Oh, welcome. That was awesome to be here.
Awesome,
Thanks for having us,
Thanks
Ben.
for having us.